quality. And more globally and international in its perspective, our country, the Philippines, continue to be more concerned about quality of education that will respond to a technologically and information-based global community. Okay, so let's go ahead now. The new mantra of the Department of Education is this one, it's matatag, to resolve the basic education woes. And remember that every philosophy, okay, embodied by an institution should be reflected and work it out. So matatag, okay, with the support of the whole Filipino teachers, will have these four critical components. So we have to make the curriculum relevant to produce competent and job-ready, active, and responsible citizens. This is the news of today on how the lawmakers try to change the curriculum. And for us teachers, we are enhancing on it. Second is to take steps to accelerate the delivery of basic education facilities and services. So what are the steps to be delivered? Basic education po tayo. For those who can understand Cebuano, you can give me a heart dahil bisdak po ako. I am from Cebu City. Next is TAA, or to take good care of our learners by promoting learner well-being. Inclusive education, patas po ang pagtrato natin. Thank you, Sir Giselle from Nibble Hill Slicing, to everyone. Thank you very much for being with me. And give support to teachers to teach better, because remember what we're doing now as a professional development is our bread and butter. And at the same time, we are helping our learners because the wants and interests of our students are our primary goal. Do you agree with me? And so, one of the objectives, I have here 5. And in these objectives, let me tell you that I'll be sharing also to you my experience as a Master Teacher 1 in DepEd Cebu City Division and how I inspire our school heads, our supervisor, and my co-teachers. So if you are only a teacher 1 to 3, you could be of great contributors in your school because you are always there, or there is what we call a room for improvement, both attributes, personal and professional. So in this session, you are expected, all of you, to understand the importance of instructional supervision and instructional assessment, because remember, we cannot assess if there are no content to be delivered, and how would the principal or the school head would monitor us. Next, we'll analyze the effect of instructional supervision by school authorities on the pedagogical practices of teachers. So if you know what to teach, the question is, how will you teach? So these are the pedagogical practices, and one of the strategies used here in Magister Service is what we call the self-regulated learning approaches. Next, the participants in this session will value and recognize the accomplishment engaged in by school heads to enhance classroom instruction and students' learning. So the accomplishment of our students here will be deepened, and how will we assess? We will also critique on the current trends of principals' instructional supervision and teachers' effectiveness based on the review of related literature or related studies. And of course, you will establish connection or apply leadership practices to a current pedagogical challenge in the new normal, because all of us are leaders even if we belong to teachers 1 to 3 or master teachers 1 to 4. So let me continue. Let us first clarify the following terms. What is supervision? It implies one-to-one and prompt guidance provided to the employees along with instructing, monitoring, and controlling them when they carry out any task or job to check if they are working according to organization's plans and policies in a timely manner. And in conjunction with two words, super and vision refers to over and above, to see or view. And so if you look at po in a nutshell, supervision means overseeing the activities of the employees. And for those teachers 1 to 3 and master teachers or teacher in charge or head teacher, we are always know how would we see ourselves, meaning to say there is what we call social responsibility or a reflective time on how we are really doing our job. Therefore, instructional supervision is a phase of school administration. Look at yourself and imagine your school heads, which focuses primarily on the achievement of appropriate expectations of educational systems. Tinatawag po itong systems because it becomes topsy-turvy, then it's become unsystematic. That's why there is what we call a focus of primary function and achievement, which is expected in our DepEd or our institution. Instructional supervision is a collaborative effort, set of activities. If you observe, marami po tayong activities sa DepEd. There are many papers to be submitted, even if the memoranda are late to come. And so supervision of instruction is the process of bringing about improvement in the teaching learning process through a network cooperative activities. So monthly we have activities po in our school, and it must be democratic, meaning to say we have to solicit ideas from our grade leaders, from our departments, so that there will be a harmonious relationship of persons concerned with teaching and learning. That is according to Mohammed and others. So look at the characteristics of supervision. Starts from the elements of directing up to utilization. Let us just straight to the point that the elements of directing in a supervision is how will we motivate, how will we communicate, and how will we show our leadership in a classroom. Because you cannot be a principal or a master teacher or an assistant principal if you lack these factors. You don't know how to motivate your people, you don't know how to communicate or lack of communication, and of course, leadership. In a universal activity, supervision is very common because it requires different levels of management, because there are principals, okay, who transform each one of us. And it is a continuous process, just like learning. It's a continuous process. It is a constant and frequent supervision required by the employees to perform various activities, whether there is a direct or one-to-one contact between you and your school head. So it's not that you are the term is you are so sip to your school head. It's how you are very sociable and really credible with your work. And so overseeing the work, if you look at that one, overseeing your work, okay, from left to right po ang aking laptop, okay, that is how the employees perform. And there are no deviations from the plans, policies, and objectives of concern, as long as you are really honest of what you're doing as a teacher. And the utilization of resources. This is how to facilitate the optimum utilization of what we have in our school, which leads to the elimination of wastage and achieving maximum output and minimum cost. So the MOOE, familiar po kayo dyan sa MOOE or the Monetary Operations and Other Expenses, gagamitin po yan because of the allocated budget of your school, whether small, medium, or large school. So that is how the paradigm works through supervision kung ikaw po ay principal. And remember the 5 P's of instructional supervision. It starts with your personality. The most important, of course, your character, yung attitude po natin. What is our purpose of applying in DepEd or in other institutions? And how would we process our pedagogy? We should have our own lesson plans. And from our lesson plans, different plans. We have action plans, okay, sustainable ability, activity plans, everything plans for individual development plans. All of these are interacting or interrelated with each other because according to Dr. Diaz, okay, before in the division of Ligao City, the developing schools for the future programs is the key principle to empower the school principal as an instructional leader. And the responsibility, the authority, and accountability for school improvement have been pushed down. Okay, we cannot push up or push down. It must be pushed down because the lowest level of the school are us, the teachers, teachers 1 to 3, master teachers. Without us, there could be no effective principal. In other words, one of the secrets, sino po yung mga naging OIC dito? May see your hands if you have become an OIC sometime in your school. Are there any? I would like to see your responses in our chat box. Just say yes or thumbs up if you have been an OIC. Because me, myself, I experienced 6 times when I taught in the night high school for 2 years. Okay, so one of the secrets of success of any principal is to surround himself with the best people he can have. And who are these best people? Of course, we, tayo po mga teachers 1 to 3. That's why do not forget, it starts from our personality. What is our purpose? How would we process and how would we plan so that the optimum style of teaching and learning will be really assessed. All right, so let me continue. If you have there your instructional supervision in your respective school, in the Department of Education, we have also this one. From school year 2022-2023, this year, we pass our portfolio and prepare all our COT, our MOVs, because if you look at the framework, okay, the depth ed, the heart of the system are the teachers, we, whether directive or non-directive. How would we show our commitment to our school? So it's there, the instructional supervision and the governance. If you look at there, it's in Basic Education Act. This is what we call the legal basis. So if you have there a portfolio prepared, okay, in your respective faculty room, very good, do not lose that one. It's because that is how we recognize the crucial role of teachers in developing holistic learners, and that good teachers are vital to raising student achievement. And you know, the crucial role of teachers and master teachers, okay, are considered highly proficient because we coach, we mentor our co-teachers to improve their instruction. And of course, from the division level or from the regional level, we are the centers, or what we call the delivery of quality basic education to all our learners. And so if you look at also the framework, it started there from the regional director. If you know your regional director and it functions well, he performs or oversight the functions in the implementation of the instructional supervision in the region. And the different regions will just simply follow, or what we call oversee the implementation of the instructional supervision in the region. Okay, followed by the CLMD chief, what we call the monitoring and evaluation. They are the leaders of that particular organization. Then we have the regional supervisors who supervise us, okay? And we have also the district supervisors. The district supervisors, okay, provides guidance and instructional supervision to school heads to improve instructional supervisory practices. If you observe, marami pong words na supervisory practices, supervision, leadership, and of course, if they will not monitor, if they will not coach, if they will not gather result and assessment, okay, like NCAI or National Achievement Test, okay, how would we show the progress, or how will we commit or obtain the progress of the technical assistance, or see if they are really working from the higher ups up to down. So the policy recommendations continues because that is part of educational management, or what we call management's consideration, including po the inclusive education like ALS. So the teachers, the master teachers, all of us will provide guidance and instructional supervision to our mentees. So we are mentors, meron po tayong mga mentees, so that there will be what we call an improvement of instructional delivery. So we can see how we show the monitoring style of our supervisors and school heads, how they evaluate us teachers in the delivery of instruction. But remember, they cannot be best leaders or instructional leaders if there are teachers who are taking for granted of their work. So we are here in Magister Service and other research networks because we want for our improvement both personally and professionally. And in the end, of course, we have to show our MOBs. We prepare and submit reports and some progress of the technical assistance being provided for the teachers. That's why if you look at the paradigm, okay, the flow of the aura from the region to the division to the district to the school and school head, okay, the master teachers are there who will guide the teachers or the novice teachers, yung pong mga teachers 1, 2, and 3. So I will show you later on how we bridge the gap between theory and practice because me as a research coordinator, district research coordinator, I would show to the world, show to the whole Philippines, and of course here in Cebu City, specifically in Don Sergio Osmeña, that I am capable enough to become a leader. We just only have to wait when will become the time of us to become the head of our respective division. And so if you look at the matrix of instructional supervision approaches, where did we belong? The instructional supervision approaches for teachers 1 to 3. Okay, pasensya na po, medyo not clear, but if you can see teachers 1 to 3, we are organizing and developing to become a directive 1. Okay, but for non-directive, consolidating and integrating, that is how we really think of ourselves. Okay, for master teachers, we are what we call non-directive, discriminating po tayo kapag if we claim that we are non-directive, meaning to say we know already what to teach and how to teach. But for the teachers 1 to 3, they are in an organizing and developing a directive. But for collaborative po, you and your colleagues, okay, that is how you apply and consolidate and integrate, okay, your lessons, because there is one approach in methods of teaching which is called integrative learning or integrative teaching. Okay, so there are definitions there that we perform instructional activities the same, all of us, and the benefits. For master teachers, we are very skilled in questioning of the supervisor who triggers the teachers in decision making. We know already what are the art of questioning. Okay, and you know, if you look at the whole paradigm, it's still part of when you were in college, or if you are currently taking up your master's degree, okay, the law of recency, okay, other things equal, like the law of effect, the law of readiness, the law of exercise, like yung pong kayong Thorndike, if we sum up all of those, even the law of resiliency, if we sum up all of those laws, there is what we call a law of recency, that when we repeat, when we duplicate, when we re-emphasize the objectives of our lesson plan, learning still continues. So it is a continuous process, unending po, infinite. Okay, so even if there are the frequency of visits, because we don't know that there is an ambush visit or impromptu visit, and the levels of what we call this integrated learning, close, continuous, participatory, and minimal. It also depends on the nature or what we call the administrative functions of your respective division or regional office. Okay, so let me continue. I'll be showing you a related study somewhere in Nigeria by Origbo and Iyo in 2016. So entitled Principles Instructional Supervision and Teachers' Effectiveness. In this study, they wanted to examine the differences in teachers' effectiveness based on principles instructional supervision in public secondary schools. And Nigeria is a developing country or very underdeveloped country. So whatever in research, whatever problems that they have observed in their local context or local scenario, they address that one. And of course, we have the need to find out what would be the remedy for this. So that is something new for them that the other related studies having none. So the results of the study is that there is a significant difference in teachers' effectiveness based on classroom observation. So there's also what we call significant difference in the strategy, the post-conference analysis and post-analysis conference. And You know, data, the data suggests that uh, the principals there should carry out an adequate instructional supervision of teachers to enhance their teaching effectiveness. So if there is a significant difference, then there should be a continuous best practices, okay, in the context of Nigeria. So if that was in 2016 and today is 2023, the question is, are we planning to do research in relation to the study of Erugbo and EO? So it's up to us. The decision is up to us because research must be in form of interest and something which is novel. All right. To continue, another study is in Indonesia and in our country in the Philippines. Okay. So ito po ay kasagsagan na siguro ng COVID 2021. So there is what we call 2020 COVID and 2021. And at that time, the authors, Maesrara and others, describes the implementation of instructional supervision, okay, our neighboring country, Indonesia. And if they want to describe only, the result is there was no significant difference in their effectiveness. So, ano nang mangyayari dito? Dahil hindi significant. So, if there's no significant or no importance at all on the use of the following, the techniques, the principles, and instructional supervision approaches on the variations of teaching learning models. So, what's the use of learning models if it is ineffective for them? So, the decision is there was no significant uh, difference. So there is a need for a replication of the study because the instructional supervision, okay, as if we look at the left side, okay, because that is a published journal, instructional supervision has the most dominant effect. However, on the variations of teaching learning models and materials, it has no effect at all. So in research, they might use the before and after something on the treatment that they utilize. And they compare also how the managerial style of the principal compared with the other method of leadership and managerial style in relation to different models and learning materials. So if I were the proponents of that research, I need to address to our school heads that there is no significant. That's why we have to make an action plan. That's the result of how teachers are being encouraged to do creative investigation, to make an action plan. Let me continue. Hello, are you still with me? Say, give me thumbs up in our chat box if you are still with me. I would really confirm if I am still very much alive. May I see your yeses and thumbs up? Thank you very much. Yeah, Ma'am Beverly, okay, Sir Carl Jan, Ma'am Anaris, thank you very much. So you are still there. And you know, let's take this opportunity because this is one of the crucial things that we need to consider. We will be expanding our horizon here in Magister Service. Okay, so let me continue. I am now in this, thank you, Ma'am Marivic, on the techniques of instructional supervision. If you look at po, I highlight yellow because I love research. I learned to love since I finished my PhD in research and evaluation. If we start with classroom observation po, classroom observation, because it involves their live observation. You can see there how the process, how the personality, how the student teacher, okay, interact with one another. So during classroom observation, there's what we call a demonstration, which involves different series of events. And that, of course, that is what we call a visitation, expected man or not. But the question is there a workshop after the visitation? That is how activity involves in a small group where the students or the people temporarily form to discuss a specific topic. So usually when we observe our teachers, they are employing different strategies or what we call sample po is, it's not only the traditional discussion, it's the cooperative learning. And there's also what we call micro teaching when it's scaled down in terms of time. It depends on how would we manage the number of pupils in our classroom, okay, and how we uh, actualize the discussion. And of course, the teacher is always there. Remember that in the absence of teacher, and if you use only mm, little teacher, okay, there's not there's what we call a mortal sin. Huh? And we also use different types of instructional materials like audio, visual materials, and that. So that is what we call listening to tape, recordings, and radio, especially if it involves, okay, on how you would really take into consideration the data, which is subject for creative investigation or what we call action research, kung qualitative po. And guided practice. If you look at guided practice, the supervision technique involves there are what we call the emphasis rather than talking with practice activities arranged on the context. So dapat po i-contextualize po natin, i-integrate. So kung Bisaya jud ka, kung kasabot ka, if you're a Cebuano or kung nakakaintindi ka, you may use the MTB or the mother tongue base para makasabot gid sila or so that they can really understand. So uh, I hope those who can understand Cebuano, okay, could learn and understand my side because that is how I speak to myself, especially I am ko po ay araling panlipunan when I taught in the junior high school. But when the senior high school opened in 2016, the medium of instruction is already English, but we cannot avoid to use NTV or the using of the native language in order to simplify what we are doing with our lessons because it is expected that in our classroom, the students are having an empty cup. Wala pong laman yung kanilang utak or kung meron man, kakaunti lamang. So the role of the teacher there is to guide our students step by step because that is our rule. So the study of Archibong in 2009 addressed this instructional supervision in the secondary education as a panacea for quality assurance. So if there is an assurance, okay, quality po, let's look at the suggestion of this study that the principals are called as catalysts. They are what we call who are making a difference in our classroom and should facilitate the implementation of the various sets of instructional activities. The principals, they may not know the topic or the lesson that you are teaching, but they know the classroom management. What type of classroom manager you are, whether you are you belong to a democratic, you belong to our laissez-faire, or you belong to what we call an average only, or what we call a socialist type of teacher. But the most important there is how you are there and do the pedagogy or the art and teaching, okay, the input, the process, and the output framework. So that's why I really emphasize their research. Why? Because that is how we collect the data. And once the data are there, we find solutions to identify the problems because every grade slip viewing or grade card giving, we talk to the parents because parents are our partners in the holistic development of child's learning, right? So here as the supervisor in education or school head, we work with them through the teachers and we identify problems because we in the Department of Education, okay? Sa totoo lang po, it's not easy to fail the child without concrete evidence, without getting to know the background on what really the reason why the students fail to come to class daily or drop. Do you agree with me? For those who are working in that ed, it's not that easy. Okay? Of for LRN, there is an LRN for every student. And sa amo here in Cebu, we just simply use our heads up, muhangad na lang mi. And so LRN is langit try na sayod because for me, it's not that easy to fail a child. We need to look back the other dimensions of the child making or helping them on how to pass because that is how we give remediation, okay, intervention. And if you want specific or scientific way of helping the students, do it in what we call scientific investigation or action research. And so we dictate the solutions autocratically. Ganun gitawag manig autocratically, or bakit kaya tinatawag na autocratically? Because the setting in our educational system in the Philippines, okay, have many problems. And so if there are problems, then we have to identify step by step from simple to complex. It can be seen in our statement of the problem in our research chapter 1, and or what we call the domain of inquiry, whether quantitative or qualitative. So it is then suggested in that study that there is what we call an input process output framework. And the question is, did you apply that one? Okay, for me, I also applied, but I need to ask myself, what will happen to me as an instructional leader, as a master teacher, and as a research coordinator? I will show you later on how I use and empower myself for the betterment of our school. If you look at the cortina, okay, so let's open the curtain now. I work with our principal, Dr. Ikong, and Sir Jerome Misa. Okay, this is how I collaborate with them because this is a two design research. It is a meta-analytic assessment, if you look at below, and a theory generation. What are the emerging trends of blended learning instructional approaches on basic education students' academic achievement? Because there are many ways to teach through blended learning, but we wanted to know how different countries around the world use blended learning from 2019 to 2022. That is my decision. And I would like to ask the administrative support of my supervisor and the principal, because I cannot do this without their consent. Of course, they are helping me on how to interpret the data and gather the data, because this is a data mining only. Our respondents are not people. But we were able to disseminate that one. If you look at the next cortina, okay, we disseminate this one at an international level because that's timely and it's for free somewhere in Ankara, Turkey. So they were very excited at that time. I remember when we faced foreigners, of course, and they are very excited. Okay, so the emerging trends of blended learning, and it's what we call an exchanging of ideas from different foreigners. Okay, so I very happy and felt, okay, nadarama ko po na para akong principal na rin, okay, with support of my principals and supervisors. Okay, so that's how I use the principle of what I've learned from magister service. Okay, and in our district also, okay, we share this one as instructional leaders. Okay, we possess this. We engage in frequent classroom visits. All of our attendees po are mga master teachers and grade leaders in our district, South District 4 and South District 4. In other school, they are clusters. So there are 7 schools around South District 4, and we exchange our ideas because there are many activities in our district, and one of the activities is sharing the planning of our work. We provide resources to strategically support priority teaching goals. We maintain positive learning culture up to promotion and participation of professional learning with teachers. So that's how we empower the master teachers, the grade leaders, even if they are still teacher 1 to 3, but they are willing to support, okay? Because this is instructional supervision, okay? So lumipad na po ang piso. Lumipad na po yung bird natin. I also worked last year with our OIC, okay, our supervisor in Araling Panlipunan, because I am a social studies major during the first humanities and social sciences pedagogical exchange. So if you are participating here in Magister Servos as an active one, you can also participate in different webinars, seminars, because that is how you hone your skills, okay? And what you learn should be applied. So that was the first humanities and social sciences pedagogical exchange, and we are very excited at that time because of the very brilliant and intelligent students science hypo. Okay, let me continue. Yes, that's the emerging trends of the blended learning, okay, approaches on basic education. That's our uh, abstract, okay, together with the rest of the proponents, because that is a statistical analysis we produce and we graph on BL blended learning, okay, different approaches. In other words, ano yung mga experimental designs na ginagamit uh, ng mga researchers using experimental method. So the rest, descriptive, correlational, qualitative, are not part of this study. And if you look at the results, I highlight it with yellow. There is a superior enlightenment results in the students' achievement when they are given opportunities to study and engage through blended learning. That is the theory that emerged in our quantitative study, because in Cebu Normal University, we practice how to generate themes. From the themes, we make propositions. From the propositions, we generate hypothesis. And from that hypothesis, we validate the hypothesis, okay? That the number of hypotheses are equivalent to the number of theses to be produced. That's how the research and evaluation worked on in CNU and in the University of San Carlos here in Cebu City. So since this is a meta-synthesis, or what we call an example of literature review, there is a rigorous type of study as long as you are happy with what you are doing. Again, you must be happy or find happiness of what you will be doing in research. Because as a classroom teacher po, marami po tayong mga paperworks, and this is another job. You will be diving with another work. So you have to be ready, okay, both physically and mentally. Okay, just manage your time. Another related study po is all about the instructional supervision and the pedagogical practices of secondary schools in Uganda. So I choose Uganda, it's because like in the Philippines, medyo mahirap po ito para sa kanila. And for us, how would we pattern and how could we share the findings of our study to the rest of the index or databases? Because once you have your research, it will not end up with your thesis and dissertation. You must consolidate that one or transform that one in a publishable form, just like a journal or an article. If you look at the aim of Paul Malunda and others, they wanted to look at the effect of instructional supervision by school authorities on the pedagogical practices of teachers in public schools. So how do school authorities, how do these people, okay, use instructional supervision when they are already rubbing? And if you look at the results, both classroom observation and portfolio supervision have statistically significant effects on the pedagogical practice. Wow! So if it is a significant effect, then let's continue the best practices. Okay, observation, portfolio. So the one that I've shown to you, the portfolio here in Cebu City Division, we use that one. So that was 2016, and now it's 2022, 2023, meaning to say the research is ongoing. Learning is a continuous process. So that's how we learn from the review of related literature. And so the conclusion of that study says that practices are dependent, the pedagogical practices are dependent on the manner in which they are supervised. Because the teachers, some teachers will only be ready with their very inspiring instruction or quality instruction when they know that there will be an observation coming. Am I right? And so the Department of Education should increase regular in-service training. We have inset po and LAC session. Okay, that is how we practice. And we conduct classroom observation and portfolio supervision in different schools and also in our classroom or schools, making education quality, okay, and be a model to the different schools. So let's have a short survey. Just answer me with SAA or NC with these following statements. This is all about instructional supervision. Number one, okay, you can use our chat box there. Just answer SA if you are still with me. Number one, my school head usually notifies me before the lesson observation. Do you agree or strongly agree? Just write your answer. SA, thank you, Ma'am Giselle. Thank you, Nieves. Thank you. Then number two, my school head usually focuses on the fact of teaching rather than personality when supervising. You agree or strongly agree? Number three, supervisors from DepEd usually supervise the way I teach. Really? That's one of the surveys to be used. Next, I regularly get feedback whenever DepEd officials supervise me. How true? Really? So strongly agree, strongly agree. Meaning to say, if you agree or strongly agree, that is your arbitrary, that is your decision. Okay? As long as you did not answer with the rest of the five, kapag meron pong strongly disagree, magkakaroon po ng insignificant yung result ng study. Because if you answer ST, strongly disagree, I am often happy with the manner in which the supervisor gives feedback after lesson observation. Okay? It affects, meaning to say, there is what we call content validity of the research, which corresponds this questionnaire to the statement of the problem. Thank you very much for your participation, Ma'am Diana, Sir Melchor Tulabing. Thank you very much po to Sir Arnie Itcobanes, okay, for your answers, meaning to say you are really there and you are very much alive. Okay, let me continue with our training. This is a training po, huh? All right. This is how we clarify instructional assessment. So I am now in instructional assessment. It is a process of data collection rather than an assessment instrument. If you happen to let your students count the frequency of error during periodical test, did you do that? After checking the test, the items, we let our students, okay, helping us on how to count the frequency. Did you do that? Yes or no? May I see? Counting of frequency, because yes or no lang po if you are doing. Yes. Yes, Ma'am Ginaline, thank you po. Sir Arnie, yes. All right, thank you po for your answer. Sir Carl, okay. Ma'am Diana, thank you po. Sir Angelito, what's the reason po of letting our students raising their hands when the item is wrong? That's the question. And let me continue. A form of curriculum-based assessment, because we are having this one CBA, curriculum-based assessment, in the context of the Philippines. And the purpose of instructional assessment includes ensuring a match between what the student knows and what the teacher teaches, providing correct feedback, and monitoring feedback. It will happen during our in-service training or learning action cell. Am I right? Instructional assessment is a reflective activity. In our LAC session po, we have reflective journals. And that is what's happening in the United States, because I patterned this one from the US. Okay, just 10 a.m. in the morning, I made this, I reconstruct my PowerPoint, because quarterly in Magister Servus, we update our presentation. Sum up the evaluation of student performance or the assignment of grade, but should serve as a basis to inform instruction. So that's why in our classroom, we will ask the students on on who got this, who got higher grades, or who got 40 above out of 50 in the periodical test. Okay, because the passing score of 50 is 38, that's 75%. So as a teacher or teachers, we tend to revise, we tend to reject, we tend to uh, revisit, no, reject, revise, retain the items of every uh, uh, number in the periodical test. And that is how we use the item analysis, all right? So it's a continuous process. How many times? Kaupat, okay? 4 times mayroong frequency, counting of frequency, okay? And also different forms, okay? So what's the relationship between the three important concepts? So we have there from the US, for example, the curriculum there is MAC-FW. That's ELA, let's say English, language and arts and other subjects that they offered. And that's what they offered. And next is how. That's that's the instruction. So the instruction that they use there, routines and procedures. We have inquiry-based, sa atin po, meron tayong problem-based, we have problem-based learning, okay, brain-based learning, etc. Then we have peer collaboration, or what we call collaborative learning, etc. That's how we use instructions. Remember, those instructions differed from one class to another because of the principle of teaching and learning, that every student is unique. And so since they are unique, they are diverse, we also use diverse strategies or instructions. And the assessment there, sa ilaha or sa kanila, MCAS, Pass Bridge, Unit of Assessment, then we have PBAs, exit tickets. These are the type of assessments in a form of gamifications, okay? Assessments that takes longer time. That's why you have to manage your time, like think, pair, and share. So here, this training and Magister Service second session, we know already that for every activity we are employing in our lesson plan, or when we are in our classroom, it's already an assessment. Okay? So enrichment activities, okay? Panlinang na gawain, exercises, short quiz, all right? That is already what we call or consider as an assessment. But, meron pong but. Look at the arrow. District supports. What does that mean? For example, number 1, Envision Math. Next, ST Math. Then Ready Gen. Up to spellography. Then we have Lexia, etc. Those are what we call, for me, I bet that's the program or the project of the district. And from the district level, they also oversee what is happening for every division, what is happening for every district, and for every school. And I think that in your school, you have your individual project or group project as a coordinator. Am I right? So for example, as a research coordinator in Don Sergio Osmeña Senior Memorial National High School, my project is Uswag Pagduki-Duki. That is a Cebuano term, meaning research development. Uswag means development. Pagduki-Duki means research, because we use terms that suits to our division, to our district. Okay? So what is happening in the United States? The what, the how, and the outcomes must be patterned in the Philippines. Okay, that is how we bridge the gap between theory and practice, okay, all over the world, in the Philippine setting, and in the local scenario. So if you look at the examples of instructional leadership skills, okay, the core there, yung pinakatunga, ang center ay yung principal. So it needs a communication skills, okay? Effective planning, trustworthiness, team building, optimism. Those are the skills or characteristics that the principal must possess, okay? Because if you're kind of principal who never gave too much socialization in your organizational management, then you met anyway, the teachers would just simply tell or say that school heads or principals come and go. Okay, they will come and go. sisipal, sisipal or the principal will just go, bye-bye na, bye-bye. Okay? But the teachers, okay, will still remain, okay? Tayo po, mananatili sa school if we love teaching, okay? Whereas those who are planning to go abroad, marami na pong mga teachers ang nag-abroad. But remember, wherever you go, still being an instructional leader in your classroom, an instructional leader of your mentees are there because you cannot give what you do not have. Therefore, you cannot teach what you do not know. Am I right? Okay, let me continue. Look at the paradigm. This is the study of Tisfall and Hoffman. Okay, look at the arrow. When you see the arrow of this in a theoretical and conceptual framework, the gender, teacher experience, and school type influences the attitudes and supervisory practices, including the satisfaction with supervisory practices. Okay, kung ano po yung mga attitudes sa amua, sa Cebuano, sa kinaiya. Okay, ano po ang ano po ditong attitude natin. Okay, and the perception, the professional development. So they examine existing perceptions and preferences of teachers toward instructional supervision. And if you look at the actual supervisory approaches, clinical, peer coaching, cognitive, reflective, professional growth plans, these are what we call the approaches or iba't ibang pagdulog na mga principal tuwing sila ay mag-o-observe ng classroom. And if you look at the results, less frequently practiced, okay? What else? Beginning teachers prefer the use of mentoring and portfolios more than experienced teachers. Of course, when they are hired, okay, they are still new in the system. They are adjusting yung mga bagong teachers po or novice teachers. And number 3, no significant difference between the beginner and the experienced teachers in their attitudes and satisfaction towards supervisory practices. Okay? So if you observe po, less frequently, okay, ano pa, it's the use of mentoring, no significant, and the most important contributors to professional development, okay, teachers' attitudes and satisfaction po. They use regression analysis because the attitudes and the satisfactions are what we call the dependent variables of this study. And the professional development of every teacher is the independent variable. So among the two, how it would affect, okay? So both of them affect because of the term they're most important contributors to professional development. And so you can see there that the ending of the arrow is what we call professional development. Go from up to down and horizontal. So the perception of professional development really matters. All right. So let me continue. Time checks, it's 6:11. All right. So if we utilize that study, we can adapt that one. And if you see the questionnaire on type of supervision by using the following scale, never for 1, and then the highest is 5. That's the rating scale or rating scale. And if you look at the type of supervision, the clinical supervision up to professional growth plans, they are divided into 2 categories, the real side and the ideal side. In research po, ito yung tinatawag na bipolar scale. Right? Again, it's a bipolar scale. The real part, ito pong real part from the left side is the actually occurred, while the ideal side is what we call should occur. So that's how we quantify the bipolar statement of the different supervisions, clinical, peer coaching, mentoring, and self-directed development effective. Okay, you can see there and you can adapt that one. Just recognize the author to prevent plagiarism. Okay. Moving on, let's have a quick survey. Okay, answer me with SA, strongly agree, and agree up to SD or strongly disagree based on the following statements regarding professional development. Since you are here in Magister Service, you must already be convinced with what you have learned from me and from the the day one session. Number one, I'd like to see your answer in our chat box. I am convinced of the need for instructional supervision. Really? Na-convince ko ba kayo? Two, supervisory choices should be available to beginning teachers. Sino po yung mga beginning teachers dito or you have mentees? Strongly agree. Thank you very much, Ma'am Annie, Ma'am Ruth, Ma'am Julieta. Time should be given. Number three na po tayo to the implementation of any instructional supervision model. Really, mo na ipangutana. That's the question. Time should be given to the implementation, or did they just really ambush and observe you? Beginning teachers should receive adequate supervision. Strongly agree. And of course, consider the development stages of individual teachers, because all of us underwent as a beginning teacher. That's why we have to put ourselves on the shoes of those who are already in the field but still beginning. Okay, that's our rule. Hindi po tayo na matagal na nasa serbisyo, tayo na po ang nakakaalam sa lahat-lahat-lahat. No, it's not. There's what we call a camaraderie. Thank you very much for your answers to the following teachers: Teacher Jennifer, Teacher Julieta, Ma'am Jenny, who else? Sir Karjan Kiang, Sir Arnie Itkobans. Thank you po for your participation. Okay, here in our Google Classroom, 66 po tayo lahat. Okay, so you can borrow this questionnaire to Magister Service because I'll be leaving a copy for this. All right, so how will you improve the instructional leadership skills? Remember that all of us are aiming to be promoted. So if you will become a teacher in charge, a head teacher, a master teacher, there's always a room for improvement. And what are the skills? Because I bet that majority here are an aspirant to be a principal. So that's my question. Are you an aspiring principal? Alin po ang mas gwapo? Kung naka-coat ako or naka-red or walang coat? Biro lamang po iyon. Ha? All right. So, you conduct formal observations at regular intervals. You provide helpful feedback. You establish realistic expectations, meaning to say, you have to guide, okay, and expect lahat po. All right, thank you. And be a role model. Thank you, Serenante. Keep learning and be a role model. Okay, so what you've learned, you have to apply justly and honestly. And what you do not know, because all of us are not perfect, what you do not know, you seek to learn. And what you have as a teacher, you share. That's the philosophy of the Carolinian, the philosophy of the SVD priest. Because when I taught in the private schools in the University of San Carlos, what I've learned there, and I always have with me, when we are teachers, remember that we are students forever. I have with me my compiled pedagogies in teaching since 1998 po, up to now, it's still with me because I am already turning 45, tiguang na, or medyo matanda na. Okay, do I look old? Okay, but for me, I feel young and handsome. Pero yan po ay biro lamang because I learned to love what I'm doing for the past, since I finished my PhD in 2019. And you can Google my name because I have published studies regarding instructional pedagogies, okay, something like that. Okay, so ako po, I consider myself as a role model. That might be one of the reasons why my colleagues, majority, we are 122 faculty in our school. They love me so much when it comes to research because I did not act as hypocrite. I always share what I have, and I'm always open for correction. That's how I look at myself, okay, and for others, okay. So let us have, how about a legal basis coming from the head? Sana all po like you. Thank you po, Ma'am Ana Marie Silencio. Silencio is a Spanish term for silent, but look at Ma'am Anime. She's no longer silent. She's very sociable. Thank you po, Ma'am. If you look at this one, in somewhere in Dasmariñas, I think it's part of Magister Servo's place, Cavite, man siguro ni Cavite, no, Dasmariñas. Templates po, then they have date to be uploaded, then they have persons responsible. So if you look at instructional supervisory plan, that is their ISP. and the date to be uploaded last week of the previous month. Then who are responsible? SH, that's senior high school or school head, then head department and master teachers. If you look at, okay, the responsible people, they are what we call in preparing a monthly supervisory plan for head teachers, for master teachers. The basis for conducting instructional supervision, okay? Again, bawal magreklamo because we are entering in this profession. And you know, by principle, this is a vocation. And a vocation will not be after for something, okay? Just accept that all of us are unique and a contributor for the holistic development of the Philippines, okay? And the future of our children lies in our hands. That's the philosophy of in the field of sociological aspect. And if you look at also there, they have their instructional supervisory plan. In your case, in my case, we have different plans. And if you look at the activities lang po, and activities to be conducted, classroom observation, checking of weekly home learning plan. In Cebu City, we have TLG, Teacher's Learning Guide, because I am a writer in practical research too. I'm also a writer in our TLG in practical research too. And of course, I am open for correction, for suggestions. Okay? And the modality there, face-to-face, dahil tapos na po tayo sa modular distance learning. Because yung modular po is case-to-case only, especially for pregnant students, for working students, for special students. Okay? So that's how we look at our students and how we plan. Because in every plan, there's always a corresponding follow-up, monitoring, something like that. Okay, the same din po, instructional supervision. Move on na po tayo. Kailangan nating mag-move on. All right. So, who are here have already finished their COT? Ako po tapos na magpa-COT. Because I am a master teacher 1, my mentor is a master teacher 2 who is retirable. Okay, so I have to respect and understand the way she treated me. Sino pa sa inyo ang hindi pa nakapag-COT? Okay, or are you done with your COT? Yes or no? I'd like to see your answers in our chat box. Are you done with your COT? Wow, thank you, Ma'am Ruth. Tapos na po kayo. Who else? Ma'am Julieta. Congratulations. Ma'am Junalisa, Sir Kervin. Yes, done CO2, CO2, COT1, CO, done na po. Very good, congratulations. Ako, tapos na po ako. But when you are a speaker, again, when you are a speaker in a particular program, no need for you to be observed inside the classroom because your topic as a speaker could be utilized or use a lesson plan out of it, and then you will submit that one to your mentor. That's how, thank you, Ma'am Nelebet. That's how we agree, internal agreement in our division, in our school, that once you are a speaker in your district, in your school, but in Magister Servos, it's not. Because here, this is a very specialized. Here in Magister Service, it's where you can really focus because online po ito. All right? Regardless of your internet connection. But again, I feel it very comfortable during online okay? As long as you are attentive. Kung kayo po ay nakikinig sa akin. All right. Now, answer me with yes or no, because this is part of the leadership and governance. We cannot function if our parents will not support us. Okay, yes or no? Number 1, I'd like to see your answer. PTA is functioning effectively. Yes or no? Because for me, honestly, it's not really functioning because on, ano po ang isubmit? Later, questions po, later na lang po ha. Later na lang po yung questions. Okay, the principal assess the school's strengths and identify the areas of improvement. You have SIP, AIP, we have also CI, continuous improvement. Okay, ini-assess po ba ng principal, yes or no? The principal promotes teachers' well-being and positive morale. Professional and personal development, meaning to say the principal can be approached or approachable. Ensures all aspects of the school's environment is clean, sanitary, attractive. Remember, classroom environment, okay, is conducible, no? It's something which is conducive for learning kapag malinis po ang classroom natin. Okay? So if your answers are yes, 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 thank you, Ma'am Diana. Okay, congratulations po. Meaning to say you are really a classroom teacher. All right. Let's move now to the next part, management of resources. Yes or no? Did you know that MOOA updated or transparent? Makikita po ba sa inyong board, sa inyong charter? Okay, charter citizens, yes, yung MOOA and other local funds, because in other schools, the MOOA is mysterious, something like that. How about the stakeholders who sustain the implementation and the improvement of the resource management system? Nakikita po ba na niliquidate po nila, liquidation of funds on time and approve proposals? Remember, when money matters, magkagubot, or there might be, ano po yan sa Tagalog, okay? Magkakagulo po kapag pera na ang pinag-uusapan. May nag-answer po ng no. Okay, so that is an honest answer. Thank you, Ma'am Evelyn Silvestre. The chalkboard is located within the following features. Okay, chalkledge, sa amin po, walang chalkledge. With curtains, ibang classroom, walang curtains, sa amin meron. Okay, and do you have a washing and drinking facilities? Dapat po meron. Yes, all right. So that is how we also consider the things that makes instructional supervision part of it. And strongly agree po until strongly disagree. This is a quick survey po. Number 1, class observations are done monthly. Is it monthly in your school or termly? And in some schools, when there is a need only, answer me with SA, A, neutral, disagree, or strongly disagree. Okay, number 2 na po tayo. Thank you, Ma'am Nieves. Monitor instruction through lesson monitoring tools and syllabus coverage. Really? Because the syllabus now are taken from the curriculum guide, and the curriculum guide, we have the MELCs. The MELCs, I know you know that already. Most essential learning competencies. Thank you, Ma'am Nelibet, for strongly, the answer strongly agree. How about the instructional supervisors who conduct impromptu visits? Are they there? Impromptu ba talaga? And is the teacher always invited, okay, for a session where there are strengths, there are weaknesses, and emergent issues, something like that? Number 6, supervisors allow for democratic sharing in an attempt to solve instructional challenges, okay? And schools assume demonstrative teaching and provision of instructional. Thank you, Ma'am Marilo Demeterio. Okay? And the rest of you are very active. 81 na po tayo ngayon. Nidaghan na ta, dumami na po tayo. Thank you, Ma'am Julieta, Ma'am Geraldine. Okay? You are very attentive, okay, during this session. And I hope that you will use this, because this is part or may become your questionnaire when you become a school head or assistant principal someday. You can adopt this one and just address, okay, address that this is taken from Magister Servos, because this becomes an intellectual property of the organization. All right, moving on, let me continue. All right, so this one is another study, number 6, okay, from Manasi in Tanzania. If you observe po, mga African countries ang nandito, ibig sabihin, they have some problems or more problems when it comes to education. Titled, Instructional Leadership, the Role of Heads of Schools in Managing the Instructional Program. And they wanted to investigate the instructional leadership practices engaged in by heads of secondary schools, mga high school po. And look at the results. The head of schools daw, senior academic masters, yung sa kanila masters or mistresses. Iba po sa atin kapag mistress, hindi ba? Nagbabago po ang meaning ng master at ng mistresses, kabit. Anyway, that's their term. Teachers and students were not familiar with the concept of instructional leadership. Paano nangyari to? They're not familiar with instructional leadership and was not effectively managed, not involved in curriculum, not covered on time. They did not undertake classroom observations. Well, that's in Tanzania. And I think it's not happening in the Philippines. So if that is, that was 2016 and now is 2023, we need to compare our situational analysis, the rationale of chapter 1 in your thesis, and even in our students. And then during the findings or the results of the study, we compare and contrast if they align or not. Dahil kapag na-align po ang result natin na not familiar din sa Pilipinas or saan ka man lugar sa Pilipinas, not effectively managed, not covered on time, and did not undertake, ay walang pagkakaiba ang Tanzania at ang Pilipinas. Ganun po ang mangyayari. And so there is what we call continuous, okay? Continuous creative investigation. In my case po, I also work with our assistant principal. Okay, so Sir Charlie Zayas, that was last year. The title of our study is An Evaluation of the Teacher Induction Program in Don Serio, Osmeña, through the eyes of beginning teachers, because at that time I think there were 9 new teachers, and I would like to help the school in such a way that the TIP program, okay, will enhance or develop, because I believe that Sir Zayas is, before he retires, he will be going abroad. And of course, I have to grab the opportunity, okay, by collaborating him, because I know he could help during this time. We wanted to determine the challenges encountered by the respondents, and we use IPCRF, that is our variable, the self-rating of our respondents, and the coordinator's rating of this program, okay, because the coordinator was Sir Zayas. And if you look at the results, okay, they are less serious when it comes to challenges encountered in instruction. Bakit kaya less serious ang mga beginning teachers? Okay, okay, classroom management and school location. Less serious po sila. Ganun lang po ang mga millennials siguro ngayon. And we use thematic analysis here because the previous one is a descriptive statistics. This one is qualitative, so mixed design po. Orderly learning environment, development of effective teaching practices, show love, respect, and caring, and promotion of personal and professional development. Those themes, okay, are emerging because of the saturation of data in qualitative research. It comes from the codes to categories, and from the categories to the themes. So these are the emerging themes. And it is already published. Sa awa ng Diyos, na-published po ito for free. Okay, we grab the opportunity. It's somewhere in Indonesia. We also present this one at international level. Okay? So, na-open na po yung cortina. Ito pong ito pong si Professor Xavier Charlie W. Zayas. We present this in Azerbaijan, somewhere in Azerbaijan. Okay? Online po. Okay, and we're very proud. Okay, again, I guide our assistant principal. We call him Professor X, but he loved to be called like that. Okay, so we also receive our certificate at an international level. We're very happy. Okay, right. Next, another study. It's number 8. Time check. It's 6:31. Somewhere in the Philippines is Olongapo by Basilio and Bueno. So in 2022, wow, very fresh po ang pag-aaral na ito. They wanted to investigate the current issues and concerns in instructional, supervision, and assessment. Okay, and the result in Olongapo, that there is a need for a collaborative and trust-based types of supervision. So ibig sabihin, kulang po ng tiwala ang mga teachers sa kanilang mga supervisor or school heads. Next, there should be regularity, continuity, and quality supervision with a provision for adequate funding and capacity building. Kawawa naman po yung mga respondents dito because it turned out na kulang po sa regularity, continuity, adequate funding ang kanilang paaralan or ang kanilang division. And it needs HOTS. Base, okay, that is how they figure out okay, and that's the reality. Okay, that's study number 8. So we can say, makasulti ta ba, masasabi natin na with the changes in educational landscape, the technological advancement and the ensuing change in terms of workforce requirements in the market, Even if we use the 21st century skills and if there is no strong support from the administrators, mangyayari po ang di inaasahan or ang inaasahan na lack of collaboration, lack of regularity dahil irregular po. And so, what happens to the principle of higher order thinking skills? And so, the school should expect that they need an assistant from the supervisors, okay, that is relevant and effective for instructional supervisions and assessment program. So if that happened in Olongapo City in 2022, what will happen to the division in Cebu City, dito po sa Cebu City, and in your respective division? So you will repeat and duplicate the study of, kinsa na? Sino ba yun? Manolito Basilio and David Colabero Bueno. Okay, because the case there is different and the case in ours division are different. What is happening to the instructional supervision in the 21st century? Okay, if we are good in speaking during in-service training about the skills, the forces of instructional 21st century, like collaboration, cooperation, creativity, communication, something like that. And for us, tayong mga teachers as the frontliners of basic education, okay, lack of collaboration, lack of regularity, lack of quality supervision, okay, there is what we call a remedy. It needs a remedy. It needs a treatment because this is an educational malady or educational problem. All right, let me continue. Okay, so what does it take to be a model school? So if you want to have a quality instructional supervision, okay, we need to follow the following tips. Okay, this is something you should know. So if you look at the picture, sino po ang gwapo? Ito pong naka-magenta? Something you should know? Or ito pong naka-red? Pero lamang po yun, ha? Okay, kumidya rin na siya sa mga Bisaya. Laser-like focus on student learning. If you remember that in every school, and lahat pa rin po, sir. Thank you, Sir Renante. Idol po ko kayo. Okay, Sir Basa. Okay, ganun po tayo. Dapat feeling gwapo po tayo kapag nakaharap na tayo sa mga teachers. Okay, all right. So, we care about our students above anyone and anything every second of every day because we are like a laser. We focus on student learning. We believe and we align the behaviors. Okay, our lesson plan, the objectives of our lesson plan should be carried out. That's the thing that we can call a strategy as an effective one. All right, because if I would ask what is the best strategy for you, for me, if I would ask you that question, if the objectives are carried out. Next, this is a tip, something you should know. There must be a strong evidence base. If you look at the graph, that's how they innovate per district. Pasensya na po, medyo hindi po maklaro yung nasa ibaba. But if you look at the dark part, the darker part, high level of questioning. They emphasize that one. Okay? Then we have academic discussion. Alin po ang dinidistribute ng bawat chart, okay? And thoughtful work. So we can say that the growth of our students are validated based on their scores, based on the reliability of our test that we are using. That's the critical test or the major test. Okay, so tayo po mga teachers, okay, we use our lesson plans, we use different instructional materials, okay. Sa modernong panahon, ito na po ang tinatawag na artifacts para pong anthropology, okay. So, strong evidence base, that's why we have many reports to submit, and this is what we call an artifact. Next, another thing that you should know is the passion and more passion. Do you love what you're doing as a teacher? Whatever it takes, because because um, a passionate teacher, a passionate educator should put the things or learn into action. Mao nang pahimuon tag action research or gagawa tayo ng action research kahit hindi na pandemic. This what we call challenges as the name of the game continues. Okay? So, ang larong ito, okay, ay walang mananalo, walang matatalo because we are here to serve, okay, the government. Again, we are government servant. So whatever it takes, there's always what we call a passion of what we are doing. That's how, okay, we look at our school as a model. Next, something you should know is the focus, the traditional learning versus the transformational learning. So if you have your type of principal or school head who possess transformational leadership, there is what we call a learner-centered environment, embraces technology, up to integration of curriculum. Now remember, dalawa po. We have interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary. So if I am majoring social studies, of course, I know history, economics, and other disciplines, geography, philosophy, sociology, okay, and the rest. And I will touch other subjects. Okay, that's how I integrate. That is what we call interdisciplinary. But when we say multidisciplinary, meaning other subjects that are offered in the curriculum, and then we have different objectives, but we will be ending with one goal. And what is that goal? It's quality education. And that is what we call multidisciplinary. In every research congress, different subject teachers are swarming there, okay, and delivering their research abstracts. Okay, that is what we call multidisciplinary research. Something you should know compared to the traditional. Next, what is the culture trump strategy? Ano ba tong culture trump strategy? Since the pandemic, okay, the strength and weakness in our collective fortitude, our ability to find opportunity during time of struggle. Nakasurvive po tayo. So different models and innovations, okay, are there. So we have to look at the culture of the school and how our students suffer from the things that they cannot understand. So if the students cannot really understand, that is decline of learning. And when there is decline of learning, we prioritize students because they are part of the DORP. They are part of the LARDO. If you know dropout reduction program and LARDO, at other schools, they call that PARDO or SARDO. Okay, so that's how we look at the culture, Trump strategy, the cultural dimension of our students, and extreme innovation. Okay, from the modules, okay, we use Zoom or Google Meet, okay, and today's agenda, how would we know that our students are more technologically driven compared to us teachers because they are very hooked as of now in technology. So we may ask ourselves if we can still teach our students even if the copying of from the blackboard note taking is no longer practiced because they can simply screenshot the notes. Okay, if you allow that one, but remember there is what we call the art of communication, that the students must have something to read, and after reading they must also write or jotting down notes or note taking, and after note taking you will be employing different strategies on how to present what they have learned. That is now the speech or talking time. So reading, writing, and speaking are essentials in all aspects of learning. That's the principle in the art of communication. But with extreme innovation, we have to conjoin with technology. Next, all means all. Is there a rigor in our work? Mahirap ba ang ating trabaho? Is there a relevance and the relationship for all the students in our philosophy? What is the truth and principles underlying of what we are now? Because for me, my philosophy in teaching is something like pragmatism, that what is workable should be applied. And for Catholic schools, they integrate religious aspects. Okay, that is what we call scholasticism, the philosophy of scholasticism, and the rest of the isms, or what we call the philosophical foundations of education. So if you look at the graph, the knowledge taxonomy and the applications model, okay, must slope upward or slope downward. Ganun po, or for every quadrant, how does it affects our educational system? These concepts with clear understanding, creating learning environments that are equitable and inclusive in order to reach the needs of all students. Equitable education. When we say equal education, all of the students are, of course, encouraged to come to school to be educated. But when we say equity, meaning to say equity, ang buot pasabot, ibig sabihin, those slow learners uh, must be given priority, must be given special care, must be given an opportunity so that they could also pass and understand in such a way that, okay, in their own pace, at their own level of learning. That's why for me, I will not simply drop or fail the students. We should get to know where, when will we apply the hidden curriculum. If you are familiar with the hidden curriculum po, that the students, okay, are always there, no absences. So do not fail the student because they are there to learn, and your job is to provide the needs and the wants. Medyo mahirap po. But all means all, meaning to say, when you treat the students, not only equally, but equitable po. All right? So, the application of model, marami na pong model sa education. And the knowledge taxonomy are always there, pero nagbabago po ang model because a model is a younger brother of a theory, something like that. So it is coming from an assertions of the data collected in research. That is what we call action research. But if you formulate a theory, if you formulate a model, that is already a basic research. That's the difference between action research, because you will put an immediate treatment for an educational problem. So no need for validity and reliability of your research instrument, because all you want is to help, okay, the students, okay, for just 6 months only. And the last one here, something you should know, is the diversity. If in the United States, because I patterned that one from the United States, no, state po sa kanila, marami pong mga schools. But in the Philippines, compare the Philippines, the topography, the geographical setting of the Philippines, nako, medyo po, ano pong tawag dito? Marami po, cultural diversity in the Philippines. Nagbabago po ang curriculum, but some of our beliefs and practices remain the same. Yung mga paniniwala ay hindi nagbabago. So collectively, the presenters, the researchers from different countries around the world, demographically, geographically, represents there the urban, the suburban, and the rural area. And regardless of the population, you must be able to show that you've made an advancement to close the opportunity gaps within your subgroup population. So equal po lahat. That is what we call inclusive education. So gone were those days na kapag ang estudyante ay hindi nag-absent po ng ilang linggo, okay, or 1 month na dahil siya po ay nabuyagan, ano po yan sa Tagalog, okay, na-inkanto po. There are cases like that. So the diversity and other reasons behind, because in our form, what is called that attendance, form 2 ba yun sa attendance natin? Fixed po. family may matter, the income may matter, okay, the community matter, of course, the school matters. So that's how we choose if the students are absent for 5 consecutive days, they are part already or enlisted in Form 2. Every month we report that one in the Department of Education. Okay, so continue the best practices. Okay, for teachers 1 to 3, for master teachers, I collaborate with Filipino teachers, and the title of our study is The New Trends in Communication Arts Through the Reflective Journals of Senior High School Students. Filipino teacher po, pero English po because the original title is Tagalog, ang bagong kalakaran ng sining ng komunikasyon tungo sa mapanindim na journal ng mga mag-aaral sa senior high school. We translated into English because we shared or we presented that in international level in Istanbul City, Turkey. Naninibago po ang mga Filipino teachers, okay? But still, it's for free and we receive our certificates and of course, na-publish na po ito. The Filipino teachers are there. So what I did is only to how to reconstruct the research process, but during data gathering and interpretation, sila na po ang bahala. So there is what we call collaborative research. And that's how I brag to my other master teachers, to the assistant principal, and to the school heads that instructional leadership does not only lies on their heads, but also for us, ordinary teachers, we can do together as one, we can build better education. I also work, tingnan natin naukab na ang kurtina. Open na po ang kurtina. I also work with the TVL teachers. Okay, the title of our study is Perspective Drawings of Senior High School Students. Okay, because we offer housekeeping and technical drafting. Okay, it's a theory development approach. In Practical Research 1, those who are teaching Practical Research 1, qualitative po, this is what we call grounded theory. So we ask our students to draw, kahit pencil lang po, whatever they have, and then use their imagination and we let them interview. So sino nag-interview? Hindi po yung nakablo yung pinakagwapo. Pero lang po ha, yung nasa left side, yung small, at yung nasa right side, yung the tallest, small, medium, large po. Kasi kami po yung mga 3 musketeers in our school. Ako po ay Araling Panlipunan and the 2 of them are TVL teachers. So I am helping them, teacher 1 and teacher 3. Balang araw, baka sila ma-promote, and one of the basis is, of course, what we call the basic research. Basic po because we were able to develop a theory. All right, let me continue. So, parang na-inspire po ang aming school, and of course, I help our coordinator, si Ma'am Princess po, sa social studies. And February 20, we have the post-meridium sharing learning action cell, blended learning with students modular schooling, because we have students who are using also modular type, and how did the teachers use our modules even if we are now in the post-pandemic season. So the investigation continues, and our respondents here are Araling Panlipunan teachers po. Okay, so the same, I guide Ma'am Princess, okay, but during data gathering siya po, then I will just oversee. Ako po ang captain of the ship. Okay, and okay, just lately, okay, the science teachers in our school, okay, Sir Insong and Sir Santos, sila po yung mga science teachers, okay, and we wanted to know or determine how effective is ADI. ADI stands for Analysis, Design, Develop, Implement, and Evaluation using quasi-experimental method, okay, as an alternative delivery learning. And we share the best practices if you look at true action research. So if you look at the 3 of them, sino po ang pinakagwapo o pinapong sabihin? Because I know you will choose Sir Ansel and Sir Julian. Sila po ay parang mga preschool kids if you look at them. At yung pinakagur, ang tiguang, ang matanda ay ako if you look at, okay? But still, I inspired them, and our research has just approved, and this coming June 15, hopefully the 2 of them are very ready to cascade, to show the results, pero I think it's not, the results are not yet continuous, but it's because of the proposal, because we show two times before data gathering. So that's how we have our learning action cell, and then after data gathering day, we interpret, and then we show to all science teachers, both junior high school, senior high school, and the third shifties or the night department. So that is how we practice. And let me share to you the related study number 9. This is the last study po, okay, by Shena, Kuminghod, and others, somewhere in where? In Dumaguete City, Philippines, Negros Oriental, still in the Philippines, in Bayawan City Division. This is a correlational study. And if you look at the results, the experienced teachers, the experienced teachers and novice teachers are the respondents of this study. And if you look at the first correlation, the first descriptive po ito, concept and purpose, okay, the mean is 4.55, and for the novice teachers, the mean is 4.35. And overall, there is what we call a very high uh, descriptive verbal description po, because of the overall mean 4.55, 4.38 for master teachers, 4.58, something like that is the composite mean. While for the novice teachers, 4.35, 4.12, 4 point something po lahat. We have the parameters below, okay? And if you look at the verbal descriptions, okay, if it falls to 4.21 above, that is strongly agree, and the equivalent extent of implementation is very high. So if it is very high, the practice of the division of Bayawan City is very, very good, something like that, because the extent of implementation in their division is very, very high. Ganun po ang kanilang practice. Okay? Congratulations po sa mga authors na ito, because they really found out and proved to their division, okay, that the relationship between the experienced teachers and novice teachers in when it comes to concept and purpose, planning and preparation, organization and implementation. Then we have dialogue and discussion in post-instructional supervision and satisfaction with an evaluation. All of this, okay, both it could be the dependent and independent variable, or they could be the dependent variable when it comes to supervision. Okay? It's very high. This is what we call descriptive statistics for in research. And part 2 of the study is the correlation. If you look at the relationship, the overall is 0.343, moderate lang po when we correlate. So the first variable there, if you look at, is a concept and purpose of instructional supervision. Letter B, planning and preparations for instructional supervision. Then we have organization and implementation, dialogue and discussion, and we have satisfaction with an evaluation of instructional supervision. Moderate lang po. So kapag moderate lang, okay, ano po ang educational implication nito? So if you look at the legend, if they belong to the moderate relationship, when will it become strong? So it will become strong if all of you, the teachers, the supervisors, the school heads, will work together, okay, and come up with a very satisfactory or excellent scores of your students, something like that, because what we are teaching as a teacher will mirror to what we know for our students, and of course the principal would be very satisfied if only few have dropped out or only few have failed in our subject. Okay, so that is correlational. In other words, ang pag-aaral na ito ay descriptive correlational. Okay, they use person R. Okay, so let us support back to the mantra of the Department of Education, because in Cebu City, okay, we make the curriculum, we make the curriculum relevant to produce competent, okay? And we also put this into action, okay? Next, that's forma. Then ta, we take steps to accelerate delivery of basic education facilities, all right? That's how we use our educational facilities in the Department of Education. And for another ta is we take good care of learners by promoting learner well-being, inclusive education, and a positive learning environment. So we have ALS, open high schools, different programs po. Tanang program, kalusugan mo, concern ko, ngipin mo, alagaan ko, all of these are part of instructional supervision, instructional leadership. Okay. G, we give support to teachers to teach better. The competency-based performance, we have the NAEP, okay, PD programs. Ito po ay NAEP accredited, PRC accredited po. So you're very fortunate in registered service because this is another milestone of your academic journey, of your professional development. We have LAC sessions, you know that we have STAR, up to Master's Cafe, up to strengthen the instruction of supervision. That is how we can contribute to the development of education in our country by supporting the new mantra of the Department of Education. So in your division, in your regional office, I believe that you have also supporting our mantra, the matatag, bayang makabansa, bansang makabayan. Nga naman, why? Because we believe, okay, nitoo mi diri sa Cebu City nga ang kalidad nga serbisyo permanente, okay, or the quality of service here is very permanent. That's how quality education, okay, lives. That's how our vision, our mission, our passion, because we believe, okay, we dream of Filipinos who passionately love their country and whose visions, marami na pong pinag-uusapan dyan kapag nag-in-service training po tayo. Okay? So let me conclude my topic that in classroom observation, we have to analyze, we have to strategize. We have post-observation, we have post-analysis because it is very significant for teachers' effectiveness. We have also instructional supervisory techniques that is utilized by our supervisors in a teaching and learning process. We have capacity building programs. Meron po tayo mga team building. And we believe that our leaders who will capacitate us to lead the changes and instruction which result in higher levels of learning for all students. We want to improve the quality of teaching and learning so that in the end, it can improve the process and student learning outcomes. And teachers, I'm encouraging you to finish your master's degree, continue your doctoral degree because the number of years, okay, will matter while we are young and functional. Laban lang, continue. Okay, all of this theoretical, pedagogical, okay, not only the salary, because that is part, both passive income and active income. Well, we are also aiming for higher positions in the education department. But if you cannot be promoted, then you still have to wait. What's the most important is you are satisfied with what you have. All right. So these are the suggested readings po, my dear participants, active participants. And let me end my talk with these two inspirational quotes from ASCD. For teachers, as for students, the most effective evaluation comes from someone who sits beside us and helps us grow, because I will not improve as a teacher without my observation, without the guidance of my higher ups, my boss, my heads, my master teachers and school heads. And in my Facebook, I've just simply, whatever I planned, whatever I've achieved, I always inspire my friends in FB. Okay, from Maicero in Basilio and Bueno in 2021 that we teachers, among the most dominant variables, affects students' outcome. Therefore, thus, henceforth, yun po ang mga rejoining sentences natin kapag gagawa tayo ng rational or related literature. That to improve the achievement of our students, it is important to improve our competence as teachers, meaning you should know what we'll be teaching. And one of the significant mechanisms in achieving this is through an instructional supervision program. Dapat po ang principal, school head, supervisors, and nandyan, okay, nag-o-observe, nag-monitor palagi sa ating respective school. And I hope you've learned something from my talk, my very attentive and active participants. God bless our school and daghang salamat po.
Our dear school leaders, our dear attendees, that was Dr. Rinaldo V. Moral. Let us give them a virtual round of applause. So thank you so much, Doc, for giving us a deep conversation and discussion on instructional supervision as an effective tool for